So, it's probably important to talk about the soul. You know what struck me as being interesting on more than one occasion? And that's how mysterious the soul is for people. But then again, okay, so the first thing is that the soul is not a Catholic. Okay. The soul is not a political creature. The soul has no religion at all. Long before there were any religions, ever, the human being had a soul. It's part of our design. So do not ever, ever, ever mix soul with religion. If you want to have a religion, you go right ahead and do it and give it your best shot. But do not ever, ever think that your soul is part of a religion. If you want to stick your soul in a religion, you go right ahead and do it, but that's molasses. To be clear, religions are the political face of God. Political, civil, social. They have their role, and their role has been vital in the formation of civilization. But let us be clear. They are like the toilet water to the perfume. And they have their role. But their role is coming to an end. And I say that to you, honest to God, I'm saying that to you, and this is coming from my path as a medical intuitive. And it is this trek in me that came to the realization that religions have reached their biological, biospiritual, ecological moment of evaporation. So we'll get to the soul, and I'm getting there, okay? The way the soul has been defined has almost taken a passive way in that it's been defined largely through Catholicism, because you don't hear the soul talked about a lot in the Baptist or Methodist or other traditions. So the soul is this mystical sort of component, and then within Catholicism, it is the free rider that they don't know quite what to do with. In the previous centuries, it's very interesting that the soul played the dominant part in the mystical centuries. You did everything for your soul. You made your choices for the afterlife. Be careful, you're going to pay for this because of your soul. Because of your soul. And it mattered to you. It mattered to you how the care of your soul, whether you were going to heaven or hell. I just read 2 days ago that there was this big story about in the was it National Catholic, an Italian newspaper, about how it was said that Pope Francis just said he didn't believe in hell. And this big kerfuffle. Did any of you read it? Okay, this big, huge kerfuffle where they're quoting Francis as saying, and then how that was credited with fake news being propagated by the dark side of the Vatican. And it's actually not funny. But that's part of a whole other discussion that is perhaps not proper in my teaching here, but it is a part of what's happening today. So going back to this, the soul had a very vital part. If we went back further to the time of the Greeks, they spoke of the psyche. They knew that there was more of a component. So they knew that there was something other than this form. They knew. But here's the thing. I had a real aha, not a small aha, a great big huge cosmic out of my body aha. And that was last year, just about this time. Last year in the summer, as I was preparing to teach in France. And it was one of those ahas that is a download where your senses take leave. And my soul took over. I was preparing to teach a class in France that I was absolutely not prepared to teach. I had no business teaching it. And it was in the mystical school that I teach in mysticism. And I was asked to teach the class in mathematics, in the liberal arts. So it was sacred math. It was not the add 2 and 2. It was sacred mathematics, the way the mystery schools of the Greek and Roman, but mostly Greek, would set up the liberal arts. So it was sacred mathematics, which go with the 5th chakra, which go with the 5th in the formation of the liberal arts. And the liberal arts, the mystery schools gave birth to the liberal arts, and the Greeks believed that these are the arts that liberated the soul. That you needed to know these before, so that your soul could engage the physical world. That there were fundamental keys. That unless your soul had a sense of grammatica, rhetorica, dialectics, mathematics, astronomy, math, sacred geometry, unless you knew how the laws, emphasis, the laws were structured, that your soul fundamentally was a creature of law, cosmic law. The anatomy of your soul knows law. What is the soul? It's your inherent self that knows this universe is ordered by law. Could we get some air in here, David? Is there a way to air it up? So what is your soul first and foremost? It carries the inherent knowledge of the cosmos. Knowledge, not information. Here's information. This is a pen. It carries knowledge, not just knowledge, sacred knowledge. Sacred, truth. This is what's called truth. It is universal. What is the soul? You're born knowing. What is a sacred truth? Gravity. You jump, you fall. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what religion you are. You are born with soul instincts that are triggered all for this: your survival, your humanness. Your soul has the instincts to keep you human. There's a line in your soul, like the Camino, that says if I cross over this line, I will lose my humanitarian instincts. I cannot become that cruel. I cannot do that. What makes you human? What makes you human? What makes you human? I'm asking you, what makes you, have you ever dwelled on that? What differentiates you from an animal? What makes you human? You are a predator. Make no mistake. You're an animal with predatory instincts. You are a killer. Don't ever tell yourself you're not, because you are. You have that instinct. It's in all of us. We are that. One of the reasons people do not heal, and I am an expert on this, is because you do not excavate the killer, vengeful person in you. Instead, you use this word, this useless word, I'm trying to forgive. You don't try, you either do or you don't. This is what you mean. I am vengeful. I'm still imagining how I can hurt this person. I have no intention of forgiving. I want to give even. And vengefulness is the predator in you. And you don't own it. And if therapy was designed for predators, you'd be healed. There's no honesty in therapy, because it doesn't go after this. So what is the soul? The soul is the part that knows the truth. It knows the truth. It knows the laws. The mystery schools knew the laws. So here I am having to teach this sacred mathematics, and I don't know anything about it, know nothing. I take to Pythagoras. And because I don't particularly want to make a fool of myself, I start reading Pythagoras, and I fall in love. Madly in love. Madly in love with this ancient, brilliant, madly in love. But here's the thing that happened. I realized, and I hope I can communicate this the way I understood it. From the time I had my first mystical experience, and I don't have big, I just have these micro, but what a mystical experience is when your soul has when your soul experiences something the earth can't handle. It's like a fragrance of the cosmos that has no time in it. Nothing. And you're put back into your body, and you've had this encounter, and it reshapes everything here, and it shrinks it down to its proper size. Buildings become Legos. The things that seem significant become not so significant. I'll give you an example. I had this stress when I was in college. I didn't get I wanted to be a famous journalist. I have no talent for it, but anyway. And the particular nun who was the chairman of my department, I went to college. There was this other girl I went to college with who I went to high school with. And she and I were kind of rivals. We were both from the same neighborhood. We both in Chicago. And so she goes, do you know what she did? You know what she did? So she let it be known that she was going to enter the convent. So she had an up on me. But anyway, because the college I went to was a convent, and I wasn't. Anyway, she got the editor position on the newspaper, and I didn't. And I thought my whole life was over. It was over. I may as well toss myself off a bridge and end it right now. I was really devastated because I'm a single-minded sort of creature. I had a dream. And in the dream, this same figure that I'm familiar with came to me and said, Look at you. And I was basking in self-pity and said, come with me. And we traveled, time traveled, till I was 40, which now seems so young ago. But then I was 20 and now I'm 40. And he sat me across this table, like a Zen table. And he said, what are you upset about now? Can you still see it? I said, I can't remember it. He said, that's right. Now go back and deal with it. And I woke up. And from that moment on, I used that table in my head and in my heart. My soul can time travel. What can your soul do? Again and again, my soul time travels. I think I've got to get out of this place. I'll be right back. Again and again. My mind can't do that. But I know, and I have learned through my night education, my nocturnal teachings, that my soul can do that. Your soul can do it. What is the soul? The soul is the part of you that it can access the unreasonable, the eternal. Now with Pythagoras, what happened is with these first soul teachings, what actually was happening to me was that I was unlearning everything my mind was learning simultaneously. So while my mind was being educated this way, my soul was going that way. My soul was unlearning what my mind was learning. So that while they were telling me about the sensory world, my soul was learning how to symbolically interpret how that event came to be. So that when they were telling you about decisions that were made, like in World War I or World War II, and how this came to be, blah, 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 the soul looks at the emotional, psychic fields, the archetypal fields, the Plato fields that draw together, that says, no, it isn't the Treaty of Versailles that made a Hitler. It's the build-up, once again, of hatred that the collective produces. And it will happen again. And that has traveled the ocean and embedded itself in yet another so-called civilized country that said it couldn't happen, and that's what made it ripe for it to happen. And like they said in Nazi Germany, make the evil so big they won't see it. And I give you the United States. This is your soul can see what your eyes cannot. What is the soul? That is the soul. This extraordinary power instrument in you. So extraordinary, but you must train it like you train your mind. And this is what the church feared in its mystics. That as soon as someone had a mystical experience, they decided we got to get rid of that person. We have to lock them up, a Padre Pio, a Mother Teresa, a sister, a Saint Teresa. We have to put her in front of the Inquisition. We have to do something. So back with, I'm sorry to go all over the place, but it's so incredible. So when I'm walking back, preparing for this class in mysticism in mathematics that I have to teach, the more I'm learning about Pythagoras and the father of mathematics way back when, and how he intuited mathematics and the order of the universe, the more I realize I bypassed the birth of Christianity. And now I'm pre-Christian. And as I sat there in the pre-Christian era, I went to the Old Testament. I went to the Greeks. I'm now pre-Jesus, and this is a big deal. I'm looking at the text of an era before the divine was incarnated into a human form. Now, this is a very big deal because we hadn't reached a point in our evolution in which we took the celestial powers and incarnated, densified them, concretized them. If you go backwards, if we go back to that time of, to the time of Aristotle, Pythagoras, Plato, the old Moses, let's go back to this time before we incarnated and made God look at us like us, because it was different then. It was a time when they were simply charting laws. It was like they could hear heaven just dropping down. This is mathematics, this is the way virtue, this is the way logic, there was no tying the order of the universe to a theology, to suffering, to anything. They were just saying, look, this is a mathematical structure. This is the order. This is how music is. This is that. Are you understanding me? There was no tying it to a theology. They were just saying that this universe is a structure of law. That is the nature of nature. That is the nature of this universe. The crisis started when we incarnated this into a God place. When we said that these laws could be manipulated, or that somehow these laws were favored one people over another. That's what the Abrahamic religions did. They said that one people were chosen over another, and they favored one people over another. Are you with me? That's when trouble started. That this system of impersonal laws, it's like saying mathematics favors one group of people over another. That math works better for Christians than it does for Jewish people, than it does for Islamic people, than it does for this. When in fact, this is a system. Now, the point of all this is, as a medical intuitive, what I discovered about us is that our system works according to these laws. These laws, that the soul is tied to these laws that the Greeks talked about, that Pythagoras, that we are a mathematical structure, that we are a cosmic structure, that we are a mystical structure. The mystics talked only about cosmic law. Once they crossed the mystical bridge, they never said, in order to understand this, you have to be Catholic. They got out of that and got up here, even though they honored their tradition, even though they still honored Jesus, even though they still honored but it was a cosmic Jesus, not a suffering. It was this force. What I learned is one of the laws, the primary laws, like Jesus said, what you do to one, you do to the whole. That is a primary law of science. What's in one is in the whole. That's a mystical law. Now, apply it socially. Apply it to your biology. If you hold that as a personal creed and you say, except, I'm sorry, but I don't feel that way about short people. I'm sorry, but I here is my village. I can't feel that way about people in another village. Now, transfer it to your biology and you've just destroyed your immune system. We have now reached the point where the fundamental tenets of our religions are colliding with the mystical needs of our bio-spiritual ecology. Did you just follow me? So the spiritual, mystical requirements of your immune system at the mystical level requires that you live according to holy cosmic law. What is in one is in the whole. And if you start at the lower levels and say, except actually for that person, and that person, and that person, if your lower level self starts saying, except, you are now making choices that are shattering your immune system, because you are now choosing the lesser, the ego, over the power of your soul. So the Camino we walk now, the Camino you walk, to put it in the language of where we are, is I have to walk a journey that gets my soul, what is your soul? To manage the power I know to be the truth. Where I am incongruent, where my ego collides with what I know to be the truth. Because what I have learned is that we create our own suffering. Because we cannot live, we cannot make the choices that our heart knows are the truth, but our mind collides with it because we just can't stomach this. But it's like, I have to really be kind to this person. I can't stand this person. I can't stand this person. But you know, what is in one is in the whole. What I do to this person, I'm poisoning my own system. I'm poisoning my own well. And your ego says, so what? You know what this person did? It doesn't matter. You have to rise and grab your soul from its bootstraps and say, I don't care if that's a coffee machine. I have to see the symbolic reason for it. I must. And your way to get there up this ladder is prayer. This is where the mystical tool of prayer comes in. And your mind will just say, oh, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary. But your soul has to say something like, God, grant me the grace, flood me, because I am really in bad shape here. Because I really just want to beat the hell out of this person. So flood me here. Download me with grace. Help me through the night. Send me your angels through the night to take me out of my body. Travel with me through the night. Talk to me during the night. I am suffering. This is suffering. This is what the mystics meant about suffering. When they needed to, when they were struggling, when they knew better, and they couldn't get there. And they couldn't get there. When they knew better, but they could, and that's the soul. What is the soul? It's the part that says, you got to get there. And you think, I want to just walk away, and your soul says, no, you don't. No, you don't. It's the soul in us that knows good from evil, yes from no, right from wrong. It's the soul that says, go on that walk, go on, go. And the mind says, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do it? And the soul says, go on the walk. Go on the walk. And the mind says, oh yeah, well, how are you going to do this? What are you going to say? Blah, 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 blah. And the soul never gives you a reason. It just tells you what to do. The soul will never answer how. That's an indication of the soul. Never ask the soul how, because the soul will never answer you. Ever. It does not answer a how question. Just make note, make note. Soul never answers a how question. Never, never, never. Oh, and it doesn't answer why. It doesn't answer, actually. But it does answer what?